בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, ברוכים הבאים. We have our shiur on Ikvita de Meshicha, the era of Moshiach, based on Rav Wasserman Alava Shalom's work. Today's shiur, Zod Hashem, will be for a refuah shlema for Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Orit bat Ilana, Yitro ben Avraham, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Esther bat Zipora, Serach bat Batya, Batya bat Sarah, and all of Am Yisrael, Bezrat Hashem, will have a refuah shlema, refuat ha-nefesh, and refuat ha-guf. So tonight's shiur is the fourth part of our series about the Ikvita de Meshicha, the era of Mashiach, the work that Rav Wasserman wrote before the Holocaust really showed its ugly, vicious horns years before the Holocaust, as he already knew from the Chafetz Chaim nearly a decade before the Holocaust of what will be. When a person has Ruach HaKodesh, it's almost like having nevuah, it's almost like having prophecy. And the vision that they have of the world and the perspective that they have is very, very different than your average person. So when the Chafetz Chaim said, please, can someone go with me from door to door to help me get Am Yisrael to do tshuva? Because he was very old. He wasn't exaggerating, he was crying. And he said, it's because I see that there are black clouds over Europe. He saw what the Holocaust was going to be. Rav Wasserman knew this, and when he came back from that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur break, if you want to call it that way, from seeing his Rav, his Talmidim write that he wasn't able to speak because of all the fear that he had after hearing these words from the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim was a Ish Kodesh, and his Talmidim were Kedoshim as well. His biggest Talmid, the Rav Wasserman, wrote several different works, and one of them is the one that we're studying, which is the Ikvita de Meshicha, where he's telling us in essence what is going to be in the world before Mashiach comes. Now, in the past, we've done many other things. We have Baruch Hashem, our Bitachon Be'Hashem series, which I highly recommend for anyone that's dealing with day-to-day anxiety. It's a series of about 20 lectures. We have the Igeret HaRamban that we just completed recently. That's a Musar at a very high level of about 30 or so lectures based on the Ramban's, Nechmanides' work, a letter that he wrote to his son a little over 800 years ago. We have our Stump the Rabbi, and we have many independent lectures about each parasha, different subjects, a few lectures about Mashiach, mysticism, and so on. Right now, we also came out with another USB. We have a CD as well, but we have another USB for the biggest series that we ever did, which took almost 3 years, which is the series of Musar Pirkei Avot. It's 179 lectures. Average lecture is between 2.5 to 3 hours, so you have 437 hours. 437 hours on this USB, plus you have the movies. You have about 35 or so movies. The personal story, the Shabbat movie, and so on. So they came out in a USB. It's not for mass distribution because they're simply too expensive to do it, but anyone that wants to understand their responsibility based on the Musar of the Avot, the highest level of Musar, highly recommend for anyone to buy it. It's going to be in our store in a, probably right now or by next week, it will be in our store. Now that's, in my opinion, when I first meet somebody and they tell me they started doing tshuva, which Baruch Hashem lately it's been several per day, I tell them, I decide which series to send them. Usually it's an individual lecture and then it's a series. And after I see the person a series and they complete at least one series, or they're an avid watcher, the very next thing that I recommend to them is to give themselves a gift, which is to study that series. Some people have studied the series multiple times. Some people have studied only a few lectures. But I can assure you that the series itself is very deep and very extensive, and a person that's going to study it like he studies a sefer is going to benefit in a big way. But the series itself is in essence a specific guide of how to work on yourself on a day-to-day basis, and different attributes that you can fix, different attributes that you can notice that need to be fixed, because many of us don't even know we have a problem until somebody tells us. So it's also a reminder that what's expected of us from the Beit Din of Shamayim. But it's very different than the series that we have right now, which is a series that is, on one hand, it's a book that was written almost 100 years ago, but on another end, it's a book that's telling us about today and tomorrow. It's telling us about what's happening right now, because everything that we're reading so far is clearly, we see it in the news, we see it in our reality, we see it in our communities. But it's also telling us what's going to happen soon. As soon as tomorrow, as soon as next week, as soon as 6 months from now, and so on, until the Moshiach himself comes. Now, in the last several weeks, I would say, many people have gotten a lot more nervous and anxious about the situation that's happening in America because of all the riots, where the bunch of hooligans decide to destroy other people's stuff because they decided that some criminal is a martyr. They make it seem as if this guy who was murdered, of course it's wrong to murder the guy, but they're making it seem like he's Rabbi Akiva, and they're all crying over him, even though many of them are actually racist themselves. But that's a different story. And they decided that the right way to approach this, because they have no Torah and no instructions that they listen to from Shamayim, they listen to their own little head, decided that it's a good way to deal with this by destroying other people's property. Now, of course, this is all from Shamayim. This is all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because we knew the second that they started rioting, it's going to come to the Jews. It's going to come to the Jews. So many Jews have been contacting me and asking me the same question. The question is it time to make Aliyah? Now, I spoke about this maybe about 6 or 8 months ago, the last time we had riots. And it was only riots against Jews. Only attacks against Jews. Anti-Semitism was skyrocketing at the end of the last secular year. And we spoke about it. But the question came up again. Why did the question come up again? Well, there's more riots now. There's more damage now. There's more fear now. But there's also more rabbis that are coming out and discussing the issue of Aliyah. Now, some of my dear friends, Rabbi Alon Anava, Rabbi Mizrahi, have discussed Aliyah, which I believe, Rabbi Anava has had his opinion that everyone should make Aliyah from the second he made Aliyah himself. He's very clear about his opinion. He's never really changed that. He's never been second guessing himself, but I actually do believe that anyone that actually pays attention to Rav Mizrahi would see that a lot of people, I believe, are misunderstanding his message, because people are thinking that Rav Mizrahi all of a sudden became is in panic right now, and is telling everyone to leave everything and run away as if the Holocaust is tomorrow. Anyone that pays attention to some of the words, he's saying, if you have the money to buy a house in Israel, buy one. Buy one. Because you may have to go. We may have to leave, so you need to have a place. But he's not telling you to leave tomorrow. But since people have selective hearing, and they're translating as if he just put the alarm out and is telling everybody that that's it, shut down your shop, shut down your everything, and get on the next El Al flight, or even if you have to get on a banana boat. Start swimming all the way to Eretz Yisrael because Hitler is here. He's not saying that. I know he's not saying that. Number one, I heard the message. I heard the words. Number two, he's not leaving. He's not leaving. Now, Rabbi Anava, on the other hand, he left. So obviously, his opinion is clear. Rabbi Mizrahi is still here. Now, but then people ask me, what's my opinion? What's my opinion? And that's going to be very, very different than I believe both, but it's going to sound like it's the same at first. So I call this shiur the era of Moshiach number 4. Everyone must make Aliyah now. Right now, like after the shiur. If you can, during the shiur. That's the name of the shiur. Now, if you leave right now, you're not going to understand what I just said. If you go take care of something else, you stop the shiur right now, you're going to misunderstand the message. So, you have to listen to what the actual message means, because that's how we learn Torah. We don't learn Torah based on just a few simple words and translate it based on what it means, based on the grammar and the definitions of the words. We have to understand the meaning behind it. So, the reason why I'm calling it that way is because, number one, it actually does have a very serious meaning, but number two, it's also to teach all of us that sometimes you have to study the message and not just the words that are being said. Because we study Torah based on commentary, not based on our literal translation of things. When you study things just based on literal translation, you're simply being a Christian or some other form of heretic. When you study based on commentary and the actual deeper meaning of things, then you're studying like a Jew. So, Rav Wasserman, Alav Shalom, did not make Aliyah. What did he do? He knew that the world was coming to a very serious, horrific stage. He continued learning Torah in his yeshiva in Baranovich. He continued teaching hundreds and hundreds of boys under serious poverty. He continued trying to raise money for his yeshiva. He continued doing everything he possibly can, and at one point, he came to America to raise some money, and it was already known that the war with Germany was, ototo. It was happening any minute. That the war was going to break out everywhere. And I told him, maybe you should just stay in America, because where you are from doesn't look so good. The Baranovich yeshiva already got shut down because of the Nazis. He moved it to Kovna. And Kovna is probably going to be attacked soon also. Rav Wasserman says, I'm going back. Why are you going back? He says, my children are there. What children? Got 400 kids. Got 400 kids in my yeshiva. Going back there. My talmidim are there. So we're going to die over there. I'll die with my kids. What's the question? I'll die with my kids. What, do you think he wants to die? No. He didn't want to die. He says, if Hashem decides I want to die, he's going to decide I'm going to die in America, I'm going to die in Kovna, I'm going to die wherever, I'm in Mars. You can go to Mars, and if Hashem decides you're going to die over there also. There's a person with a clear mind, understanding of who decides whether you're going to live or die. Now, does that mean that you should go into Germany, into the middle of the war and take a risk? No, not necessarily. But a person that has a clarity of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu means, does not panic. Panic is for people that don't have God. That's who panic is for. Anxiety is for people that do not believe in the God of Israel. If you have anxiety, you have emunah problems. If you're worried about tomorrow, Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkuna says, you're katon be'emunah. You have little baby emunah. Little Pikachu emunah. You have to work on it. I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of you. It's not a joke. A lot of people have Pikachu emunah. But I'm telling you that because when you know you have little baby emunah, that means you have to work on it. Why? Because running away is not going to solve your problems. Why? If the problems are decreed on your head, guess what? It's the same God that's decreeing them, which means they'll follow you. Whether you make Aliyah, don't make Aliyah, don't make a difference. So, that's why we have to listen to the Chachamim, we have to listen to the Gdolim, especially. And there hasn't been any clear instructions by the Gdolim, although many people say things in their name, to tell us that it's time to make Aliyah. Many people say things in the name of Rav Kanievsky. Every single day there's at least 5 or 6 different announcements from Rav Kanievsky. Yet no one could actually you have a video about Rav Kanievsky doing everything, except actually saying what people say he does. Every day there's somebody says, oh, Rav Kanievsky said this, Rav Kanievsky says this. How come nobody records it then? You record everything else he does. How come you didn't record this? Oh, but Rav, this rabbi, this Mekubal said it. Who's Mekubal? Who said he's a Mekubal? I don't know, I saw it on WhatsApp. Oh, WhatsApp makes you Mekubal? No, I'm Mekubal also then. I'm a WhatsApp a lot. I have like 30 groups. I should be like a Mekubal. 30 groups, which probably more groups than him. Every day is a new Mekubal, or a new person that had a dream, or a new person that had some type of... We do not listen to dreams. We don't listen to a hearsay that he said, she said. We listen to Gdolim. We listen to the Torah with clarity. The Torah says what to do. The Torah told us what to do before the Holocaust. And guess what? Although many people were given the opportunity to make Aliyah before the Holocaust, the vast majority of them did not make Aliyah. And many people think, you see, because they didn't make Aliyah, they died in the Holocaust. My rabbis tell me those are words of kfirah. To say that they died because they did not make Aliyah is kfirah. It's heresy. Why? If Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to save them, he would have saved them. If they weren't meant to die, they wouldn't have died. Does that mean that a person should just, if he just take risks non-stop and just rely on a miracle? No, that's not what we're saying. But to say that just because somebody didn't make Aliyah or made Aliyah, that's the reason why such and such happened, 100% kfirah. That's not the way Hashem works. Hashem gives us clear instructions of how He runs this world. He runs it with measure for measure. He runs it with, there's no suffering without sin. He runs it with certain principles and rules that we know. And we listen to them, not to WhatsApp, not to YouTube, not to email that's spam. I promise you, there's not a single gadol in the world that does spam mail. I promise you. So if you're getting somebody telling you, I'm a Mekubal, you should hear my dream, and I had a dream, and I had a this, and I had a that, and that's why you should listen to me, it's not a Mekubal. He's a marketer. It's a good marketer. So now, we have ourselves a situation. We learned in the last 3 shiurim of this series that, unfortunately, the world looks very, very similar today than it did right before the Holocaust. This means that if things do not change drastically, it's very likely to repeat itself. And we've seen it not just one time. The Holocaust wasn't the only Holocaust. The Holocaust was just the only one we have on video. We had many other Holocausts before it. The Turks, the Spaniards, the Romans, the Greeks, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, many, many civilizations, usually the biggest ones in the world, the most powerful ones, murdered us by the millions. The Egyptians. It's not the first Holocaust. In fact, the Holocaust wasn't even the worst thing that ever happened to us. There are many things that are much worse. But yet, no one seems to want to listen to what the Gdolim of that time said to do. If you look at all of the prophets, without an exception, go from Moshe Rabbeinu all the way to the greatest prophet after him, which was Isaiah. Then you go to Yechezkel, you go to Zechariah, Jeremiah, and so on. They all talked about Moshiach is going to come. There's going to be very serious problems. They rebuked the people. They told them to do tshuva. Repeated message, just in different words. And they all told people how to save themselves from the pending danger, the Holocaust that's coming. Every single one of them. I'll give $100, 1,000, pretend like I'm rich, $1,000 to anyone could find me one prophet, and I'll even up the ante. One gadol in the Gemara, in the Mishnah, that says that if you make Aliyah, you'll be saved from the Holocaust. You'll be saved from the Holocaust, just by that. Just by go making Aliyah. Go on an El Al plane, or back then, a boat or something, a horse, whatever you want, an eagle, whatever way you want to go there. Just by going to Eretz Yisrael, that's it, you're finished. Shtabach Shemo, that's a solution, that's a one-size-fits-all solution. You give me that, I'll make a shiur just about you. I'll do research on you and say how much of a great sage you are. You're mekubal. I'll start a WhatsApp group for you. Doesn't exist, Rabotai. Why? Going to Eretz Yisrael is an enormous mitzvah. Don't misunderstand me. But is that what the Gdolim, including the prophets and the sages of past generation and current generation, is that what's going to save us at the time of Mashiach? By itself, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So why did I say you have to make Aliyah right now? For that, we'll have to learn the rest of the shiur. Got to keep you guys in suspense so you don't fall asleep on me. Rav Wasserman Alav Shalom told us in the last several shiurim that a Holocaust is coming. Unfortunately, Rabotai Yekarim, I believe with emunah shlema that it is very, very likely that a Holocaust is coming. I don't know when. I hope we have time, because we have a lot of work to do. But nonetheless, you'll see from this shiur that there are sources from the Gemara, from the Torah, from everywhere, that unfortunately the Mashiach is not going to come in an easy peasy way. It's going to be ugly, as we talked about in previous shiurim. Meaning a Holocaust. Does that mean that everyone's going to die? Does that mean that the previous Holocaust is going to, everybody? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to be exactly the same. It'll be worse. It'll be worse. But for who is the question? For who? The answer is, it's going to be much worse for whoever doesn't make Aliyah. Much worse. Then the other question is, wait, you just told us, don't make Aliyah, don't make Aliyah, you're confusing us. Remember, whoever doesn't make Aliyah, it's going to be much worse for them. But then you have to ask the question, what does that mean? What does that mean, whoever doesn't make Aliyah? You just told me that you don't have to make Aliyah. So why should I not make Aliyah if it's going to be worse for me if I don't make Aliyah? Now you have to answer the question of what is the definition of Aliyah that I'm referring to? What is the definition of Aliyah I'm referring to? Rav Wasserman starts the next chapter of Ikveta de Mashiach, era of Mashiach. And he says, In Sefer Yechezkel, chapter 20, the prophet says, it's clearly stated at the time before Moshiach, a new creed will develop among the Jews. People are going to have a new thing that they're doing. And the prophet said, what is this thing that they're going to be doing? The prophet wrote, Sefer Yechezkel, chapter 20, verse number 32. Let us be like the nations. Meaning, they want to be like Goyim. Jews want to be like Goyim. They want to be gangster rappers. They want to be on hit TV shows, celebrity TV, Hollywood. They want to be people that are not in a Bet Midrash, Bet Knesset, Shiur Torah, not so much. Not wearing a big black kippah to cover your head to show you have Yirat Shamayim. No. Maybe a small kippah, maybe a hat, maybe nothing at all. Why? Because if I have a kippah, it's going to ruin my hairdo. I spent $80 on this gel and at least an hour and a half doing my hair, guy. So Rabbi, I got to show my hair. Got to show my hair. Spikes and all types of things they have in their hair today. What? Want to look like a goy. We work really hard to look like a goyim. Overtime. I want to do what goyim do. Prophet already told us about this 3,000 years ago. Let us be like the nations. And Rabbi continues and says the realization of this prophecy started through the Enlightenment movement in Berlin. Nearly 150 years ago, which to us is almost 250 years ago. The Haskalah. It was masked in the words of, be a Jew in your tent and a man in the street. This was quoted by Moshe Mendelssohn, one of the founders and originators of the Haskalah movement. Now if you look at Moshe Mendelssohn's resume outside of his Haskalah, outside of what he did with this enlightenment, he looks like a modern Orthodox rabbi today, like we talked about on Sunday. He kept Shabbat, he kept Taharat Mishpacha, had a sukkah, everything. Kept. But he liked to delve into the philosophy and the works of the Goyim. He said, listen, you could be a Jew, but in your house. Outside, go do business, go have fun, go philosophize, go be a man of the world. Judaism stays at home. Not too many people today, it's like, oh well, that makes sense. Yeah, well, that led to the Reform movement. That led to the conservative movement, both of which have become the same thing. Both give permission for Jews to marry Goyim, give permission for non-Jews to be rabbis. Both do not follow halakha in any way, shape, or form, especially Shabbat. They drive on Shabbat, they work on Shabbat. Meaning, Torah to them is not from Shamayim. In fact, that's actually part of the principles of Reform Judaism, is that they do not believe that the Torah is from heaven. They believe that somebody wrote it. That's why anyone that goes to a conversion by a Reform or a conservative Bet Din, even if they followed all of the identical steps of a Orthodox Bet Din, that conversion is not valid. Why? Because the people that are running that conversion, that are Reform or conservative rabbis, are not considered what's called agun. Agun means reliable. We cannot rely on their word, that they actually followed everything that they're supposed to, that they're doing everything that's supposed to. I met someone recently that they told me that they went through a Reform conversion. I said, okay, great. So what made you decide to convert? They go, oh, I liked the philosophy and different things about Jews and so on. But I still practice some things of my past religion. And, my husband is still not ready to convert. Wait, hold on a second. You're married to a non-Jew? Yeah, so how did the rabbi convert? She goes, no, they said it's okay. So it's perfectly fine for him. Actually, my husband is atheist. Doesn't believe in God. Psh, perfect. Ooh, amazing. Where did they convert you? Oh, it was, we went to the beach one time. It's a bunch of people. So they just told me, just go over there, Torah says you go to a beach when there's other people watching, it's arek v'al ya'avor. It's better to die and not go to the beach when there's other people there, seeing you in your nakedness, including your bathing suits, considered nakedness. It's die, not sin. It's gilui arayot. But the rabbis from the Reform and the Conservatives said, no, that's the best place. It's the best place. Why? It's cheaper than going to some shul and renting their mikveh. So, this all started with Moshe Mendelssohn. Moshe Mendelssohn got punished measure for measure. All of his kids became kufrim. Some of them even converted to Christianity. Eventually, the Enlightenment movement became the stepping stone for Zionism, which we'll talk a little bit about now, about what actually that means. Why is the connection between them important? Rav Wasserman says that the fruits of this ideal quickly ripened. The sons of its adherents became complete kufrim. All of the people that followed this mentality of be a Jew in your tent and a man in the streets, all of their children became heretics. Similar to what's happening to modern Orthodoxy now. Modern Orthodoxy is one generation away from being reformed, if that much. The idea was an undermining of the fundamentals of the Torah. The Torah warned us that the Jews must be separated from the nations in their whole way of living. As it says in Parashat Kedoshim, Vayikra, chapter 20, verse 26, Hashem says to Am Yisrael, and I have separated you from the nations to be mine. Keep that verse in mind as we will go back to it throughout the shiur, of what does it mean that Hashem says, be separate from the nations, because that's the symbol that you are mine. Now, Rav Wasserman also has a different ma'amar, a different sefer that he wrote, which is called Kovetz Ma'amarim. In Chelek Aleph, Amud 161, Rav Wasserman HaKadosh writes the following: מלכות ישראל אמיתית היא הזכות הגדולה ביותר. ראשי הציונים הם החייבים ביותר. וכל המאמין שיגלגלו את הזכות הגדולה על ידי החייב הגדול, אינו אלא טיפש או מלגלג על דברי חז"ל. Says the kinghood, the leadership, the control of Israel, Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, the real one, is the highest merit of all. Whoever is going to be the king, the leader of Am Yisrael, is going to be the biggest tzaddik in the world. Moshe Rabbeinu was the biggest tzaddik in the world. Yeshua ben Nun after him was the biggest tzaddik in the world. The leader is always the biggest tzaddikim in the world. Why? Hashem picks the biggest tzaddik in the world. He doesn't make any mistakes. At the time Shaul HaMelech became the first king, official king of Am Yisrael, he was the biggest tzaddik in the world, to the extent where the pasuk says that when Shaul became a king, he was like a 1-year-old baby. So if you say, what, he was only 1 year old? No, he was already a teenager, but he had the sins of a 1-year-old. 0 sins. 20 years in the world, never sinned a single time in his life. That's how much of a tzaddik he was. David HaMelech that followed him, obviously everybody knows the righteousness of David HaMelech, and so on and so forth. So to have such position, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives to the biggest tzaddikim. So Rav Wasserman says, to have this, of course it's going to come to the biggest tzaddikim. But the Tzionim, the Zionists, are the biggest Reshaim, he says. They're the most obligatory. They're the ones that have the most sins. And anyone that believes that Hashem will give the highest merit to the biggest sinner is either stupid, tipesh, or is making fun of the sages. Anyone that thinks that the Zionists that ran the country at its 1948 time frame, or that are still running the country to a certain extent now, anyone that thinks that that's our Moshiach, that Bibi Netanyahu and his buddies and his enemies, all of these lefty liberals and atheist mentality people, if you think they're the righteous, they're our Mashiachs, they're our leaders, you're either an idiot with the stamp from Rav Wasserman. Rav Wasserman says, I'm going to send you a certificate to your house. Idiot for thinking that. Or you're just a person that makes fun of the sages, makes fun of the Torah. You cannot be a chacham. So when anybody says, oh yeah, go Bibi, go this one, go that one, that's our... Rav Wasserman, going to send you a postcard with a stamp on it. Why? מדינת ישראל חילונית ומלכות ישראל המיוחלת הם תרתי דסתרי. He says that the secular Israel, led by the secular government, is the opposite, in essence, of what the Torah wants. So then people ask, what do you have so much against the Zionists? Well, let's see what we have about them. We've talked about this in the past. We have some new ones that I mentioned in Hebrew, and people asked me to mention it in English. A Sofer Chaim Azaz, who was one of the bigwigs in Zionism, lived from 1898 to 1973, says that אין הציונות והיהדות דברי אחד, אלא שני דברים השונים זה מזה. Zionism and Judaism are not one thing. In fact, they are two completely different things. In fact, they contradict each other. When a person cannot be a Jew, he becomes a Zionist. Meaning, when he doesn't want to keep Torah and mitzvot, what do you do? No, I'm a Zionist. I'm a Zionist supporter. Hence the reason, by the way, in small little soglayim, in parentheses, that's why there are many Christian Zionists. It's not because they love the Jews. It's because they like the Jews to be their customers for Christianity. They like to convert them and missionize against them. So they say, no, we're Zionists. We're Zionists. Yeah, we support Israel. Yeah, you're investing in Israel. It's marketing, so you convert all of them. Chas v'shalom. That's what you're doing. So all of these people that work with the Christians, the so-called Orthodox rabbis, like Riskin that we mentioned on Sunday, Yimach Shimo, and his students, Ephraim, and Mr. Robinson, and other organizations, CCJ, and all of these people that work with Christians like Mirvis de Rasha and Dweck, all of these people, Rabotai, these are 100% Erev Rav. There's no question about it. Why? You cannot work with the enemy and still be considered a friend. Like, yeah, what do you mean? But the Christians are nice to us. How are they nice to us? What, they stopped killing us in the streets for a little while? What are they nice to us about? So now instead of killing us in the streets, they're just killing our neshamot by converting 500,000 Jews in the last 20 years. It's actually better off they kill people than convert people. Which may be starting soon, unfortunately. So the point is, Rabotai, is that people have a mistaken understanding of what a friend really is. Why? Because they don't know what it means to be a Jew. They think that by being a Zionist, that makes you a Jew. Now, people also think that being a Zionist means that, you are, if you're not a Zionist, you're anti-Eretz Yisrael. This is wrong. Every Jew should be a supporter of Eretz Yisrael. There are Jews there. The most amount of Jews in the world that live in Eretz Yisrael. Everyone should be a supporter of Eretz Yisrael and the Jews that are there, including the secular ones, for the sake of them doing tshuva. But to be a supporter of the government, the secular mentality, the lefty liberalism, the anti-Torah mentality, no, you pretty much have to be an anti-Torah to be a supporter of that. To be a religious Zionist is a little bit of an oxymoron. That's why even sometimes religious Zionists themselves do not know where to put themselves, because it's very confusing. Why? Because many of their heroes are the people we're going to talk about today. And you see, these people are 100% worse than Hitler, with no exception. In fact, let's read more about them. Chaim Azaz told us that Zionism and Judaism are two different things, and he continues and he says, Zionism begins when Judaism is destroyed. Atzionut matchila makom arisat hayadut. So, anyone that thinks that the founders of Zionism were pro-Judaism is mistaken. Here we see from Chaim Azaz, the author, it was in Musaf Haaretz, published in Elul of 1943, Tavshin Chaf Gimel. And he also finalizes this part. I'm not reading every word because it's just too long. He says that make sure you understand and pay attention that Zionism is not a continuation of Judaism. It's not even a new version of it. It has nothing to do with it, and it's in essence something that's there to destroy Judaism. Now, Menachem Osiskin, one of the big wigs in Zionism, one of the Roshim, one of the heads in the beginning. He says, what's the difference between a korbanot b'gola leben a korbanot ba'aretz? What's the difference between Jews dying in the exile versus Jews dying in Israel? He says that the ones that are dying in outside, they're not really significant to us. They're not really important to us. If Jews die in Europe or they die in America or anywhere else, we don't really care so much about them. Because there was no significance to their life in the first place. There's no point to their life in the first place. But the ones that died in our country, in Eretz Yisrael, they're important to us. Meaning, if you didn't live in Eretz Yisrael, your life simply did not matter to one of the founders of Zionism. Written in a sefer called Shoah Mishamayim, Heavenly Holocaust. Another one, Yosef Chaim Berner, also in a sefer called Shoah Mishamayim. He was a author of Ish Ruach V'Yadit Tnuat. He was a Ish Ruach V'Yadit Tnuat Avodah. He was a inspiration and one of the friends of Zionism. Lived from 1881 to 1921. And this is his opinion about Jewish people. אופיינו הלאומי פסול מימות העולם. He says, so the Jews in essence are insignificant in comparison to the rest of the world. What do you want from the anti-Semites? He's asking, what do you want from the anti-Semites? Why do you have something against them? Why don't you understand what's clearly understandable? The reason why they hate Jews is because Jews are filth. Jews are waste of life. Jews are disgusting. They're not even people. They're like injured dogs. But the Europeans that are choking them without any mercy, they're destroying something that's disgusting anyway. They should be respected for doing such a thing. Because us Jews were not, he's a Jew, he's not a Nazi. He acts like a Nazi, but he's not a Nazi. He says, because Einenu b'nei Adam b'chlal. He goes, we are not even people. We're not even people. Written in Shoah Mishamayim, page 79. What is he like? What is this filth of a human being? Yosef Chaim Berner, what is he like? He says that Yod'im mikol hagetaot we are the filth of all of the ghettos, we are filth of the world, but me for myself, Abrit HaChadasha Sifrenui. My book is the New Testament. Etzem me'atzmenu, basar mibsarenu. He says it's the bone of our bones, it's the blood, it's the flesh of our bodies. New Testament. Zionism. Makes fun of the way Jewish people look with their beards and their payas. Says that they're second-level, second-rate citizens with no merits whatsoever and no rights. They shouldn't have any rights. We go to his buddy, Yitzhak Greenbaum. He was responsible for Ha'atzalah. And he was also the secretary in the government of Ben Gurion, when Ben Gurion was the prime minister. Lived from 1879 to 1970. It says, in 1943, when the Jews were starving to death in the ghettos of Europe, and a couple of thousand of them were being sent to the gas chambers on a daily basis, Yitzhak Greenbaum, Yimach Shimo, says the following: ששאלו אותי, הלא תוכל לתת מכספי קרן היסוד להצלת יהודים בארצות הגולה? אמרתי לא, ואני אומר עוד פעם לא. צריך לעמוד בפני גל זה הדוחה את הפעולות הציונות לשורה השנייה. He says, when they asked me if I can use the money for our organization, קרן היסוד, to save Jewish people from being killed, because you could have bought Jews, because the Nazis needed money, so they were willing to sell Jews. So can we use some money to save some Jews from being sent to the gas chambers? There was specific deals that were discussed. In one case, there was a deal with, I believe it was 2,600 or 2,900 Jews that were offered to them. Can we use it to save 2,600 Jews? He says no. And I say again no. We have to be strong that everything that we're doing is just for the sake of Zionism. That's going to bring our salvation, not these filthy animals like his buddy called them. Says, when they offer me to save Jews in Europe or to be given the land of Israel, I clearly will pick Israel. Meaning you'd rather have a piece of land than 6 million people. Showing you how much of a pro-Jew this person was. And if they were giving him, let's say, less Jews in Eretz Yisrael versus a lot more Jews outside, says less Jews in Eretz Yisrael. Why? Again, did not like Jewish people. Was an anti-Semite like the rest of them. This was also written in a הכבשנים המאשימים לראש משה שיינפלד, עמוד 62. Chaim Weizmann, one of the most famous ones. One of the first president of Medinat Israel. Lived from 1874 to 1952. When they told him that the war is broken out with Germany, he says this, תקוותם של 6 מיליון יהודים מרוכזת עליה. He says that the hope of 6 million Jews is going to be, the future of 6 million Jews that are based in Europe is going to be tragic. I prefer to save 2 million young ones and let the old ones just die and just wait for their end. They're avak adam, they're dust of man anyway. They're filthy. They have no worth in the world to begin with. I'd rather just save the young ones. The old ones just need to stand there and come to terms with the fact that they're not needed anymore. Said this in front of hundreds of Zionist leaders in the Zionist Congress of Tafresh Tzadik Zayin. And this is also written in a sefer called Ot Kin in page 105. Another one that recorded him in another situation when it was actually another event during the war on the 22nd of June, 1941. Told him that the radio just said that there is the war. The Germans just broke the barriers. He says, for our people, millions of them are going to simply have a tragic end, but in the end of it, we have to make sure that the future of the war will bring a lot of blessing to England. Millions of Jews are going to die. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But England hopefully has good respect from this one, though. England. Ben Gurion, perhaps one of the most, if not the most famous Zionist. He was the Prime Minister, Sar HaBitachon also, lived from 1886 to 1973. What did he think of Jewish people? The Jews in the exile, they're not part of a people. They're just dust of man, filth, no right to speak, no education, no roots whatsoever. This dust of man with lack of manners, it's to destroy it is not an easy job. It's not an easy job. This he wrote in his own book, David Ben Gurion, Machshimo, in a book called Yechud V'Yehud. There was a chance to save 2,900 Jews from the actual Holocaust itself. A person by the name of Moshe Sheret asked the David Ben Gurion, who was the prime minister at the time, can we save these people? Should I meet with McDonald, this guy named McDonald that was brokering the deal? Ben Gurion says, no, עתידנו חשוב יותר מהצלת 2,900 יהודים. He says, no, our future is much more important than these 2,900 Jews. Meaning, who needs them? Also, he wrote it, Moshe Sheret wrote it in his own journal, dated November 18, 1939. His son of Herzl, Yimach Shimo, Hans, says, my father's plan was to bring the Jewish people completely under the faith of the Catholic Christians. I want to tell you that the people knew, and that my father did not give me a Brit Milah, the Brit of Abraham. But you all knew about this. Like, he publicized this. He killed himself in the end, and but he publicized it. He goes, not like the people didn't know, like he was practicing Christian in hiding. He says that Avi Tziva, he commended our educators to teach us how to pray Christian prayers every morning and every night. This he wrote in a sefer called Neguot Min Ha'avar, in page 69. When he was interviewed in his when his own journal, when Herzl's own journal was reviewed in the first Yoman in page 93, when he was talking about his own goal to find honest anti-Semites in order to destroy and take away all of the Jewish possessions. That's why people, when they find out that George Soros is one of the worst people on planet Earth, he's a Jew, and people are, well, I don't understand, how come there's Jews like this? No, there's been many of Jews like this that have existed, that are part of the Zionist movement, or part of the Enlightenment movement, or part of both. When you do not have Torah, you are worse than an animal, a vicious animal. That's just a reality. And that's also what George Soros himself did. He himself admits, there's an interview online, as you see the person himself admitting, that when he was a kid, to get himself out of the Holocaust, what did he do? He helped the guy, he helped the Nazi take all of the Jewish possessions. And he worked for him. All of the wealthy Jews, little George, Yimach Shemo v'Zichro, knew where they were, and he ratted, oh, this guy's rich. Okay, let's take his money. This guy also has some money. He's hiding it over here. Take his money, take his money. Take his money, kill him, make his boss rich, and himself in the process as well. Not every rich person should be admired, to say the least. He's also behind many of these protests and things of that nature, if people don't know that. It's not a conspiracy, it's true, he admits it. When Herzl was asked, he wrote in his journal, first section, page 14, when he was asked 2 years ago, what should I do in order to solve the Jewish problem? Meaning anti-Semitism. I went to the Catholic Church to seek for an answer. And I got a meeting with the heads of there, the Pope himself, and I told him that, and he agreed in essence, that the plan is, in order to eliminate anti-Semitism, I will start a movement that will bring all of the Jews to Christianity. Benjamin Zev Todo. Oh no, this is a Sefer, sorry. Herzl describes himself as a modern Jew with a attraction to Christianity. And I bless every Jew that has kids to convert their kids to Christianity. And he says, I have a son, and I would prefer that he converted to Christianity, but I would prefer to convert myself today to Christianity, and not tomorrow. But because of all of the political issues, I got to delay it a little bit. This is in a book called Herzl that was written by Amos Alon. So from here we see, Rabotai, that the pasuk that says "Me'arsayich u'me'arvaich b'mech yetzeu," your conquerors, your destroyers will come from within you, was literally HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving us clear instructions that if we do not comply with the rules of the Torah as a whole, we ourselves will become our biggest enemy. We always like to blame other people for anti-Semitism, other people for Jewish problems, but in reality, that's a misunderstanding of what anti-Semitism is. Yes, anti-Semitism is wrong, but you have to also understand who is causing the anti-Semitism. What the cause of anti-Semitism is our actions. When we go against Hashem, Hashem uses anti-Semitism as the stick in order to bring back his sheep home. Initially it's the staff. When the staff doesn't work, the stick follows. So here Rav Wasserman tells us that our desire to be like the Goyim and have that kind of a mentality is a betrayal of Hashem. As the Pasuk says in Parashat Kedoshim, והייתם לי קדושים כי קדוש אני אדוני ואבדל אתכם מן העמים להיות לי. You shall be holy for me, for I am Hashem. For I, Hashem, am holy. And I have separated you from the people to be mine. Meaning, aside from keeping the mitzvot, keep Shabbat, keep Taharat Mishpacha, keep Kashrut, keep all of these different rules, study Torah and so on, there's also another mitzvah. What is that mitzvah? Do not look or act like the rest of the nations. Do everything you possibly can to distinguish yourself from the nations. But the Maskilim Rav Wasserman says, came and said the exact reverse. We absolutely want to be like the nations. God said about this to the prophet Yechezkel in chapter 20, verse number 32. As to what enters your mind, let us be like the nations, this shall surely not be. If not through a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, then with outward wrath I will reign over you. Kadosh Baruch Hu says what? You want to be like the Goyim? That's your thought? It's not going to happen. So how come there's many people right now that are acting like Goyim, and there's always been people acting like Goyim? Because Hashem gives us opportunities to do tshuva. He doesn't punish us right away. If He punishes us right away, we would have no free choice. If every single time a guy goes to in his car on Shabbat, the car blew up, guess what? There's no more free choice. If every single time somebody stole money in his business, Hashem would have all their fingers fall off. There will be no free choice anymore. So Hashem gives us time, because Hashem has a lot of patience for us. But at the same token, Hashem says, if you think that's the way it's going to stay, that's what's in your mind, that you're going to be a new people, you're going to be like them, it's never going to happen. One way or the other, I will rule over you, He says. And the problem is that we try very, very hard to be like the Goyim. There's a famous story of a Chassid from Mea Shearim who needed to raise some money to marry off his daughters, and they told him, why don't you go to England? Go to England, raise some money over there, there's some rich people over there, go over there. So this Chassid went to England looking the way he always does. Shtreimel, and the beard, and the peyot, looking like a Jew. So he gets there, it's clear that he's different from the Englishmen, but he's proud to be a Jew, no problem. He goes to the Jewish people, tries to raise a few dollars here and there, and then he's walking on the street one day, and all of a sudden he hears a bell. What's going on? Oh, everybody stops. Why? Because the queen and her carriage are coming. So everybody's going to stop. Okay, so he stops. He doesn't know what's going on. He knows that everybody else is stopping. The queen is coming. Queen of England. Stop. And he sees all of a sudden the carriage with the queen in it stops right next to him. And the door opens, and the queen looks at him. Who are you? And he barely knows how to speak English. He goes, hey, yeah. Who are you? He says his name, and the assistant to the queen gives him a card, says, get in touch with the queen, come to visit her in the castle. Come visit her in the castle. Whenever you want. So, the guy didn't really know what this all meant, so he went back to the Jewish people, the English Jewish people over there. He says, what does this mean? Look at what I got over here. Everybody was like, wow, you're made. You're set for life. That's it. You're set for life. First of all, the queen's going to give you whatever you want. If she invited, she gave you a card to come to the castle, she'll give you whatever you want. Not only money for your daughters. Money, you can buy houses, you could. Second of all, you're going to get all the publicity in the world, where all the papers are going to follow you. So who's this special Jew? Wow, this guy this guy must do business with him. He must be a genius. He must be, I don't know, a magician or something. Why is the queen inviting him out of everybody else? You're set. So the Chassid thought to himself, like, well, it's a big meeting then. So I can't just go regular. Gotta change it a little bit. It can't be, it's the queen, she's a goya, it can't be like. So what did he do? Let me change my jacket a little bit. So he took off the jacket, took off the stripe, took off everything, started looking at it more and more like an Englishman. And then he said, you know what, I'm still like identifiable, like she's going to recognize I'm a Jew, and it's not going to be good, because I got to be like, so you know what, he took off the peyot, trimmed the beard a little bit, groomed it a little bit. Before you know it, there's almost no beard, but he looks like an Englishman. Nice little papillon over here, what is those things, a bow tie. Yeah, looks sophisticated. He comes to the castle, the guy says, who are you? He goes, oh, I have a card from the queen. Okay, come in. The queen says, he goes, yes, how can I help you? Who are you? He goes, no, your highness, don't you remember you saw me just yesterday? I saw you yesterday. He goes, yeah. I was the guy. You stopped with the carriage. She says, oh, what happened to you? What happened to you? Well, what do you mean? Your Highness, I'm here to visit you. No, but you looked very different. He goes, oh no, I wanted to dress up for the queen. He goes, I have 30 million Englishmen. I was only interested in you because you look different. You look like a Jewish person. I was interested in talking to you. No, you're just like everybody else. Get out of here. Not interested. That's what happens, Rabbi. We work really, really hard to be like the Goyim. Want to sing like them, act like them, play like them. And unfortunately, that's not our job. That's actually a sin. The more you act like a Goy, the more Kadosh Baruch Hu is unhappy with you. This does not mean that all Goyim are bad, by the way. For anyone who wants to distort my words to the extent where say, oh, you're no, there's plenty of Goyim that are fantastic people. The only ones that are bad that I mention are people that hate Jews. Those people are bad. Or people that hate Torah, which by default means they hate Jews. Or people that are atheists, which again by default means that they hate Jews, they hate Torah, they hate everything. But Goyim that love Jews, love the Torah, Baruch Hashem, these people are wonderful. I have many, many students that are like that way. They're Noahides, they're righteous Noahides, they continue doing tshuva every day, they're very big, very supportive. But needless to say, a person needs to know that the description here of not being like the nations is not being like the nations, where they act as if there is either three gods or no God or a bunch of gods, either like the Christians or the Catholics or the Hindus or the Buddhists, all these different types of people that do not obey the rules of the God of Israel. Acting like them, completely forbidden. Whatever it is that the way that they're acting, we're not supposed to be like them. Not supposed to look like them in any way. So we try very hard to do that, though, unfortunately. So Rav Wasserman says that the more we try, the more Kadosh Baruch Hu becomes unhappy with us, and he tells us that your thought of being like them, it surely will not be. Even if I have to force you not to do it. Meaning, if I have to bring the Holocaust to stop it, that's what I want to do. Now, Rav Wasserman elaborates about this specific verse from Yecheskel. The verse says, and again I'll repeat it, where Hashem swears to Am Yisrael in chapter 20 of Yecheskel, verse number 32 and 33. As for what enters your mind, it shall not be. As for what you say, we will be like the nations, like the families of the lands, to worship wood and stone, as I live, the word of the Lord Hashem, I swear that I will rule over you with a strong hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with outpoured wrath. I will take you out from the nations, and gather you from the lands to which you are scattered, with a strong hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with outpoured wrath. And I will bring you to the wilderness of the nations, and I will contend with you there face to face, just as I contended with your forefathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I contend with you, the word of the Lord Hashem. So here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a very, very scary promise, where he says that the more we want to be like Goyim, the more power he's going to use to punish us. Meaning, if the first slap doesn't work, it's going to get much stronger. First, it's going to be, Rav Wasserman says, a mighty hand he's going to start with. If this is not effective, then it's going to be an outstretched arm. If this does not help, then there must be outpoured wrath. Under which of these three processes we are under at the present time, we do not know. We can't know. Meaning, at the time he was living, he didn't know. Are we right now that we're being persecuted by the Germans, persecuted by the Polish, persecuted by a lot of Goyim at his time, 90 years ago? If we're at this stage, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, we're not really sure. We can't know. But for sure, it's going to get worse. He actually was telling us it's going to get worse, and it got much worse. 6 million Jews died over the next couple of years. Shem Yishbo. Now, he says, this will show itself in the very near future, he says. Mamash, prophecy. He says, no, it's not going to happen, 200 years from now. Which stage we're in, 1, 2, or 3, in the very, very near future, we're going to find out. And he was 100% right. It happened in the very near future. At any rate, it's clear that the prophecy that Hashem says it shall not be is being realized. Now, the nations drive us murderously from themselves. It is said that it's hard to be a Jew. Now, a miracle has happened. In recent times, it's even harder to be as a non-Jew. He says that, people are saying, listen, I'm not religious. It's hard to be a Jew. It's hard to be a Jew. Why? It's hard to keep mitzvot, not drive on Shabbat, eat kosher all the time. It's hard, Rabbi. Maybe I'll do something else. I'll keep it when I can. Some woman told me this a few days ago. Listen, I love Torah. I believe Hashem is real. It's just that I love the secular world also. I like walking around, practically naked. I like to go out clubbing. I like to do whatever I feel like it. But I like Torah, though. I like Torah. What do you think is going to be the motivator to get me to change? Because I saw your story, so what do you think? I said, if you saw my story, then you understand the answer. Either you realize that your way is wrong and you better change soon, simply by my testimony of what happens when you don't listen. Because then that forces Hashem's hand to make you change. And when Hashem's hand is involved, for sure it's painful. Very painful. It's better you listen to my words that maybe are a little bit painful in your ears than pain in your body and in many other places. She said, thank you. You're right. I have to work on myself. People appreciate honesty. Believe it or not, much more than they don't. Now, Rav Wasserman tells us of something very peculiar. He says that as the Jews try to be more and more like the Goyim are driving them away and killing them. He says it used to complain that it's hard to be a Jew. Now, it's hard to be like a non-Jew. Why? Because the more of a person acts like a non-Jew, the more the Goyim hate him. Now, The Gemara in Masechet Chagiga talks about the end of times. In page 14, talks about first who are going to be the leaders of the Jewish people at the end of times. The prophet Isaiah gives a prophecy. Says, I shall make youngsters their leaders, and mockers will rule them. Gemara says, what does this mean, youngsters? A bunch of young kids? Why, is it going to be like 15-year-olds running the country? Says, no. What's meant by youngsters, Na'arim, being their leaders, is meaning people that are empty of mitzvot. Chilunim, secular people, anti-Torah people. That's going to be the leaders. You know, because a little kid, you look at a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid, doesn't have much mitzvot. Why? He's not obligated to do mitzvot. Says that's going to be like the leaders. It's going to be leaders that practically have no mitzvot. That's going to be the leaders of the people before Moshiach comes. Now, they will dominate over the people that have mitzvot like the pomegranate. Meaning, the people that have no mitzvot are going to dominate over the people that are righteous, that have many, many mitzvot. And they will dominate the youngster over the elder. He says we're going to get to a generation where people are going to look at grave sins, big sins, as if it's something small. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. You know, like Chilul Shabbat. No, come on, it's not for me. I'm not ready for it. I'm not at that level to keep Shabbat yet, Rabbi. Not that level to keep Shabbat. What do you mean, level? It's the basic of Judaism. Or you go to people that are already religious. We tell them, listen, you know, you have to protect your brit. Yeah, but I don't think it's like relevant for this generation. What do you mean it's not relevant? It's Shulchan Aruch. Says it's the worst sin in the entire Torah. Oh, why are you making such a big deal out of it? No, I didn't. I just recited the words. Oh, why are you speaking against this rabbi? Well, because he's bringing pastors to Jewish people. Why should we care about, you know, that community? What do you mean, why should you care? There's 1,000 families at risk to go to Christianity. Why? What do you mean you shouldn't care? They're Jewish. You should care about them. Yeah, but I live here. Doesn't matter if you live here. That's the point. Problem is, Abutai, in this generation, we have a problem. What's the problem? Problem is we've turned the big sins into like small little minute things. We shouldn't care about these big things. They're small. Bringing your pastor, arguing over Shabbat, wasting seed, all of these different things. We live in a generation where the big sins are turning into what we think is small. And then he says the following. Okay, so the last time we had a Mashiach-like time frame, which was the time of the Bet HaMikdash. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroy the Bet HaMikdash? What was the final straw? The Gemara in Masechet Chagiga, page 14a, towards the end, says the following. Rava said, Yerushalayim was not destroyed until the people of truth had disappeared from it. Lo charva Yerushalayim ad shepasku mimena baalei emana. As it says in the prophet Jeremiah chapter 5 verse number 1, walk about it in the streets of Yerushalayim, see now and know and seek in the plazas, if you will find a single man, if there is one who dispenses justice, who seeks the truth, I will forgive her. Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the prophet, go walk around Yerushalayim. If you find one rabbi, one person that's standing up for the truth, I'll forgive all of Yerushalayim. I'll forgive everybody. One person that's at least teaching for people to do tshuva. One person. And the Gemara says, Couldn't find one. Couldn't find one. At that point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to destroy the Beit HaMikdash. So then the Chachamim say, wait a minute, I don't understand. What, you're telling me that inside the Kollel, nobody was willing to stand up for the truth? So then the Gemara continues. Rav Katina's statement says that in regards to Divrei Torah, in regards to the matter of Torah, we have to make sure that we understand here, in the regards to the Torah, where there was the places of Torah, where was the Kollel, yeah, there was an Anshe Emunah over there. Inside the Kollel, they would fight for the Emet between each other. But where there was no Emunah, when it was concerning matters of Torah, there was indeed truthful people who did not allow themselves to be lauded by what was in fact not true. But in regards to business dealings, however, there was no longer any people of truth left in Yerushalayim. He says when it came to the Kollel, the yeshiva, yeah, there were people that were standing up for the truth inside the yeshiva. Where was the problem? The problem was everywhere else when it came to business, meaning the Keilot, the rest of Am Yisrael, because most people don't study Torah. The rest of Am Yisrael, when it came to rebuking that, listen, you're not to steal from this guy. You shouldn't open next to him. You shouldn't steal from this guy. You should pay this guy back. You shouldn't charge interest. You shouldn't be doing the cash advance business. You shouldn't do all the rebuking the people. He says, no, that was no more. No one was rebuking the regular people. The people that were learning Torah, they were fine. But that's not enough. That's not enough. We need someone or someones to go leave the kollel, leave the yeshiva, and go out there and help the people. Conduct honest business, conduct honest lives, and so on and so forth. When that stopped and no one was willing to do it, Hashem says there's no way they're going to do tshuva then. If there's no way for them to do tshuva, then I have to help them do tshuva. How? A strong arm, Hashem Yishmo. A strong arm. And that's one of the things that has happened to us time and time again. Now, the Rav Wasserman continues saying that a miracle has happened. He actually calls anti-Semitism a miracle. A miracle has happened in recent times that it's harder to still be like a non-Jew. As it says by the Gaon, Bet HaLevi, this is the Bet HaLevi that we did the series of Bitachon BeHashem based on his Sefer. This is Bet HaLevi, lived over 200 years ago. It says the Gaon Bet HaLevi wrote, it's written, who divides between light and darkness, between Israel and the nations. Meaning, Hashem is the one that divides between light and darkness, and between Israel and the nations, meaning that there's a difference between light and darkness that's clear to every person, but there should also be a clear difference between Am Yisrael and the rest of the nations. Because Hashem made the separation. Between light and darkness, Rav Wasserman says, there is a definite period of separation called twilight. No one can alter it to make it less or more. No one can make it darker, no one can make it lighter. Twilight is twilight. You can't make it shorter, you can't make it longer. There's a certain time frame that separates the two. In the same way, between Am Yisrael and the nations, there exists a predetermined borderline. How near one may approach the other. If the Jews drift too near to the nations, then the nations thrust back. The more Jews want to become like Goyim, the more the Goyim repel them. Like, no, you're a Jew. Go over there, buddy. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing on the basketball court? You're 5'0" and fat. You think you're going to be in the NBA? Like, why? Why do you think you're going to be in the NBA? Oh, you're like, what do you think? Because you have a good shot? The guy that's 6'9" also has a good shot. And he's faster, and he's taller, and he's skinnier than you. Like, what makes you think? But you're never going to fail at seeing young kids and adults pretend like they're going to go to the NBA. You walk around the Jewish neighborhood on Shabbat, practically every house these days. has a basketball court and everybody's like practicing like as if it's like their life is on the line. They fight with each other, they argue, foul, no, come on, no, relax, buddy, it's a ball. None of you are going to make it pro. None of it. You're never going to be like, no, I'm serious about this. Well, you want to be like the nations. The more you want to be like the nations, Hashem says there's a rule in the world. The nations will repel you. They will appreciate you when you act like a Jew. But acting like a Jew doesn't necessarily mean you have to look like a Jew. Meaning that many times you have people that say, oh, look, there's anti-Semitism. Look at this Hasid guy, this religious guy wears black and white, wears trimal, but he's getting beat up by some non-Jew. Oh, see? How come there's no protection on him? First of all, you don't know what the Bedin of Shamayim knows. Maybe that guy that looks like he's religious, maybe he's a Manis Friedman. Maybe he's a molester. Maybe he's a bad, or maybe just Hashem is testing him. Maybe he's really a tzaddik and Hashem says he can handle the punishment in order for, to pay for punishment of 100 other people instead. Whatever the case is, you can't judge a book by its cover, not just by the looks. You have to know, a Jew is someone that acts like a Jew at all times. Looks like a Jew, but also acts like a Jew too. The looks have to match the actions. The actions have to be represented by a certain look. And the more we try to look and act like the nations, the more the nations repel us. And Rav Wasserman says anti-Semitism is one of the miracles of creation. Miracles. Now I'm sure that many liberals are going to hate this, but if you have a problem, you can go up to Shamayim, talk to Rav Wasserman. You may not be able to meet him because he's in Gan Eden and most likely you're not going to be there, but you could try. Try. Or your money back. So, Rav Wasserman continues and he says, from this we can understand that the more Jews have drifted over to the nations, the greater has been the recoil. This is well apparent in those lands where the Jews have completely assimilated. How terrible this repulse really is. So was the case in Egypt. When the bondage increased, the Jews began to mix with the Egyptians, thinking that by doing so, things would become easier. What did God do? The Pasuk says in Tehillim 105, verse 25, He turned their heart to hate His people. When the Jews started in Egypt, and also in Germany, and many other places, you know what? The Goyim don't really like us. Hitler wrote a book saying a few things not so nice about us. And Nebuchadnezzar wasn't exactly a big fan of ours. Paro wasn't exactly a big supporter of Judaism. No, these people didn't like us. So some people said, you know what? What's the answer? The answer is, let me act like them. Let me go into politics, befriend them, do some, combined Judeo-Christian events, make it pretend like we're friends. Why? So there's peace among us, and say that maybe the Muslims are a common enemy, or maybe atheism is a common enemy, or maybe China is the enemy. Let's pretend like we have a common enemy, and we're friends because we have the same forefathers, even though their religion contradicts ours. Hashem says, what, you think that by pretending to be like them, that's going to help you? Opposite. Hashem says there's another rule in the world that David HaMelech uncovered in prophecy, in Tehillim. He says, Hashem turned their heart to hate His people. The more the Jew tries to become a kiss-up to the Goyim, Hashem says it makes the Goyim hate him even more. Who are the first people that were killed by all of these nations that killed Jews in massive numbers? The ones that were Khanfanim, the ones that were in the government with them, that were the kiss-ups to them. Those were the first people that got killed. After they got everything they want out of them, they would rat on their friends, they would rat on their family, they would pretty much sell their mother and their father just to try to pretend like they're friends. Eventually they killed them. They suffered the most. Why? Because that's in essence one of the rules that Hashem runs the world with. The more they sought intimacy with the Egyptians, the greater became the Egyptians' hatred towards them, until the time came and the Jews recognized their mistake. Then came the redemption. He says that as long as we thought that we could solve our problem with our own logic, either by developing better weapons and perhaps even selling it to them, or by developing different ideas and doing business with them, or perhaps by coming up with new ideas to try to join forces with them in a different way, the more we try to join forces with the nations and pretend as if we are the same, because we are all son of man, and we're not the chosen people, we're just people, just like them, especially when we do it to save our own tuchas. Hashem says, the more they do it, the more the Goyim hated them. Throughout all of the generations. One of the examples is the Egyptians. When did this all stop? When did the salvation come? Only after Am Yisrael realized that they made a mistake and started to do tshuva. Once you realize you made a mistake, what's the first sign of tshuva? That's the first step of tshuva, is to recognize your mistake. Once they realized their mistake, then came the redemption. And Rav Wasserman finishes this particular section by saying, the same will be with us. As Rashi says on this pasuk, when you look at this pasuk in Parashat Kedoshim that we started the shiur with, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the people, V'aytem li kedoshim ki kadosh ani Adonai v'avdel etchem min ha'amim liyot li. You shall be holy for me, for I Hashem am holy, and I have separated you from the people to be mine. So Hashem says you must be separate from the people to show that you're mine. So Rashi HaKadosh 900 years ago says, what does this mean? He says, I'll tell you what it means. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself is telling us, when you separate yourself apart from the nations, you're mine. When you don't, you will belong to Nebuchadnezzar and the rest of the leaders. When you are a Yid, 100%, you shomer Torah v'mitzvot, you keep all the laws, you do everything I say, and you're proud Jew. Not like one of those like make pretend Jews. You're only Jew inside your house. You only wear a tzitzit when no one looks at you. You only put on your kisui rosh when none of your friends are around. You're only learning Torah when you have nothing else to do. No, when you're a real Jew, all the time, you go outside like Mordechai Yehudi, peyot, hat, everything. You're proud of your Judaism. You're proud of your learning Torah. When you go out like that, when you act like a Jew at all times, and you publicize my Torah, then you're mine, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. But when you're not, when you still want to be like a half, sometimes goy, sometimes yes, sometimes no, guess what? You belong to the goyim. You want to be like them? You're going to belong under their leadership. But somebody has to lead you. It's either going to be HaKadosh Baruch Hu or Nebuchadnezzar v'chavirav. Nebuchadnezzar and his friends. Who's Nebuchadnezzar? The most powerful leader that ever lived. Most powerful among the Goyim. Prophecy came to Daniel to tell Nebuchadnezzar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised you that no king will be as powerful as you until Moshiach. Even Alexander the Great, or Achashverosh, or Hitler, or anybody you want to name in the world, no one was as powerful as Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar and all of the followers, whether it be Hitler or everybody else that I just mentioned, all of these Reshaim, he says, either you belong to Hashem or you belong to them. Somebody has to lead you. So now we have ourselves Rashi HaKadosh, simple commentary. You learn it at 7 years old. Or 37. Either way, you got to learn it. And a person sees here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wasn't suggesting for us to be unique, but rather telling us we have an obligation to be unique. So now the question still goes, so now that we have a good part of Am Yisrael is not exactly acting like Am Yisrael is supposed to act. Unfortunately, a large majority of Am Yisrael, our brothers and sisters, do not keep Shabbat, do not protect their Brit, do not even keep Tarat Mishpacha. Baruch Hashem, we still have the majority of Am Yisrael do Brit Milah, but the rest of the rules, many of them don't. And I'm not just talking about the non-religious brothers and sisters that we have, I'm also talking about religious people. The number of problems that I've been dealing with over the last few weeks, I spoke to my Rabbanit yesterday, I spoke to my wife yesterday, I told her, honestly, I think we're going to start a crime division. It's awful. Kidnappings, abductions, rape, molestations, Hashem Yishmo v'Yatzil. Every day it's a different tragedy. Communities you would never think have even a small problem in are having a disaster after another. Drug addictions, drug overdose, drug sellers, all types of horrible things. Meaning that the problem is not just among the secular Jewish people. It's among everyone. There's a problem everywhere, and unfortunately, it's growing. People that are following our shiurim and learning them and are getting motivated to do tshuva, getting motivated to get closer to Hashem and loving it, what do you naturally want to do when you have something good? You want to share it. And they're baffled when their friends or family reject it. They're like, oh, what do I need to know about this guy talking about Manis Friedman being a molester? Like, why do I need to care? What do you mean? He's hurting Jewish people. That's enough of a reason for you to care. No, it's not my business. Why do I need to care that this guy's bringing priests to synagogues? It's not in my shul. My shul's okay. Yeah, but he's doing it to Jewish people. Well, obviously he's supposed to care. No, it's not here. Why should I care? Why is he talking about all these people that violate Shabbat? I keep Shabbat. So why do I care about his shiur about Shabbat? Well, because 80% of Am Yisrael don't keep Shabbat? Yeah, but why do I care about them? It's their problem. What do you mean it's their problem? It's your problem. It's your problem that they're not keeping Shabbat. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lazeh. All of Am Yisrael are responsible for each other. And then comes the easy solution. A person thinks that, I'm going to solve my problem. What? I'm going to make Aliyah. I'm going to go to Israel. People think that if they move to Israel, they're guaranteed Gan Eden, or that they are not going to have any problems, or it's even a recommendation for everyone to do so. So, one of the Gedolei Israel that we have today, Rav Moshe Sternbach, was asked, should a person make Aliyah? There's a mitzvah to dwell in Eretz Yisrael, but he says it's made conditional. What's the condition? It's conditional upon driving out the idolatrous inhabitants, because as long as they are still residents in the land, they're likely to contaminate us with their pernicious idolatry and way of life. In our day too, a person should not come to live in Eretz Yisrael if there is any chance that his spiritual future will be endangered. Only if he is certain that there is no such danger to him or his children, and he has a place to live and a possibility of making a living in a Haredi environment, should he come and fulfill the mitzvah of Yeshuv Eretz Yisrael. So here, Rav Sternbach gives us the very, very clear instructions of who is supposed to make Aliyah and who is it. If a person, first of all, is going to have a way to make parnasah, or has enough money to live, That's one. Why? You can't go and expect your life to be okay if you're used to making a certain living over here, and over there your doctor degree is irrelevant. Your accounting degree is irrelevant. Your business is no longer valid because it's here, and you're going to be at the front. You're going to be, I don't know, you're going to sew clothes or something over there. Maybe, hopefully, make $100 a week. You think that's going to be okay for the rest of your family. Like, you have to have a way to make money. That's first of all. Second, which is also in the first of all, is you have to have a clear understanding that this is a family decision, meaning both wife and husband have to agree. Why? Because if the wife or the husband don't want to go, and they're going to divorce you if you do, it's no longer a mitzvah. Hashem did not say, listen, in order to move to Eretz Yisrael, you should get a divorce. He never said that. Hashem doesn't want a person to get a divorce just to make Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. Yes, it's great if you make Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, fantastic, but not if it's going to cause a divorce. So there has to be shlom bayit. And don't force each other to move and say, no, she's going to go, and then your wife is miserable and depression for 3 years. That's not a good idea. A person needs to have a clear understanding that this is what we're doing. If, let's say, one of the people is not willing or not ready to do it, be patient and just try to get them to jump on board over time. Third, which is the main thing that Rav Sternbach highlights. He says the issue of spirituality. If there is a possibility that the future spirituality of a person will be hurt, he's not allowed to go to Eretz Yisrael. Not allowed. If a person's spirituality would improve, then he should go. He should go. So now, if your rabbi is on the internet, that means you could pretty much live everywhere, but that's not a good thing either. Why? You need to have a living rabbi that you confide in locally. If you only watch online rabbis, it's good for education, but it's not good for rabbi purposes. You need to actually have somebody that you see on a weekly basis. Now, you go to a shiurim and so on. There was one guy that came to Rav Ovadia and told him, Rabbi, I heard from a different rabbi that said that if there's a question in regards to the bdika of the wife, you have to go ask a rabbi. So I'm bringing you the bdika. Can you please tell me, is my wife Teorah or no? Is there a problem with this bdika? Rav Ovadia says, I'm not going to answer your question. But Rabbi, but it says that I have to go to a rabbi. You're right, you have to go to a rabbi. Okay, but you're Gdol Ador. Yeah, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm not going to answer it. I don't want to answer your question. But I have to go to a rabbi. He says, yeah, you have to go to a rabbi. I just don't want to answer your question. But why? He says, what do you think a rabbi is? Just somebody you use whenever you feel like it? Whenever you get a chance, every 6 months, maybe you send him a text message, hey rabbi, just want to say hi. Check on you, say hello, how's the rabbanit? How's everybody? That's what you think a rabbi is? No. A rabbi is someone you learn Torah from. How often? Every time he teaches. That's a rabbi. If you're not going to learn Torah every single time this rabbi is going to teach, it's not your rabbi. So if you want me to answer your questions, you have to commit right now. He tells them, right now you have to commit to come to every single one of my shulim. The guy says, for the Rav, I promise you, bli neder, I'm going to come to every one of your shulim. Guess what? That student, young guy, became one of the biggest rabbis in the world today. Why? Listen to the rabbi. People think that if I text my rabbi here and there just to say hello, and I say, Shana Tova, Rabbi, that's my rabbi. Shana Tova, Rabbi. Chatima Tova. Chatima Tova, you make a little face. Yeah, it's not your rabbi. Rabbi is somebody you confide in, you learn everything from. If you're only watching 5-minute videos of him, he's not your rabbi. He's a rabbi. He may be interesting. He's not your rabbi. Rabbi is everything. You learn everything he teaches. You have to chase his Torah like you're chasing air. Now, if a person has that in Eretz Yisrael, perfect, go. But if you have that in England, in America, and wherever you live, it's there where you live, and you don't have that over there, you'd be a fool to leave it. Why? Because today, one of the biggest problems that you see in the Frum and Baal Tshuva world is the lack of connection that people have to rabbis. Either because they don't trust them, or they don't respect them, or a combination of both. And everyone's at fault. People have pretty much turned to, the extent where everybody says, yeah, ask my rabbi. Why is you? Well, you talk to him, you ever meet him? No, I've never met him, but I watch his shulim online. That doesn't make him your rabbi. It means that you learn from him. It doesn't mean he's your rabbi. You know how he's your rabbi? If you confide in him everything. If you learn everything he teaches and you accept everything he says, like God said it. That's what a rabbi is. When a person understands what a rabbi really is, and he's going to think twice who he's going to make his rabbi. Now, many times people decide to be their own rabbi. And they decide, listen, I asked the rabbi, should I make Aliyah? He said, no, he doesn't think so. But I don't agree with my rabbi. I'm going to listen to a different rabbi. What happens? Problems. People go, they make Aliyah, and they cry about it. 2, 3, 4 months later, 2 years later, 4 years later, it's so tough here. Can't believe it, I haven't worked in 6 months. Who told you to make Aliyah? No, it's a mitzvah. Yeah, there's a lot of mitzvot. You fulfilling all of the other mitzvot too. So what are we going to do? So hold on, we're now back to the same complication. Name of the shiur is what? Everyone must make Aliyah. What did I just say? Only some people make Aliyah. There's a contradiction here. There's a kashya. What's going on? We see now? No. Rabotai, what I'm about to say is emet. But it may not sit well with everybody. At least parts of it. And the reason why is because it's emet. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Baal HaZohar, one of the greatest Tanaim we have, one of the foundations of the entire Torah that we have today, comes from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He says to his son, I see that there's not that many Bnei Aliyah. There's not many people that are people of Aliyah. But if there's 100 of them, you and I are part of it. And if there's 10, you and I are part of them. And if there's 2, you and I are it. So what? Did Rabbi Shimon all of a sudden become egotistical, arrogant? He's saying he's one of the 100 greatest people in the world. If there's 100, him and his son, and if there's only 10 great people in the world, Bnei Aliyah, people that are great, there's only 10, him and his son are them too, and if there's only 2, he for sure is it. Sounds like arrogant. Chachamim explain. Opposite. Rabbi Shimon was teaching his son and us a lesson. It's to be a Bnei Aliyah, to be a person that makes Aliyah, means that you are making a commitment to improve your status with HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a daily basis. And put your life on the line to do it. Every day. Fight for Hashem. He says if there's only 100 people willing to fight for Hashem, you and me are going to be there. Even if there's only 100 people. Even if there's only 10, doesn't even make sense that we're going to win the war. You and me are going to be there. Guess what? If nobody wants to fight for Hashem, you and I are still going to fight for Hashem. Why does that matter to us? People want to make Aliyah. Why? Aside from Eretz Yisrael being beautiful, aside from the food being delicious, and if I live there, you probably have to have 2 cameras just to fit me in. Aside from that, what's the other reason? People want to make the mitzvah, right? Okay, what's the other reason? People are scared. They're scared that all of the anti-Semites are going to kill them. They're scared that Hitler is going to come. Why? Because we have a Gemara. The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 97, B, says, Mashiach is not going to come until Am Yisrael does tshuva. Rabbi Yeshua says to Rabbi Eliezer, if they don't do tshuva, they won't be redeemed. Mashiach is not going to come. Rather, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself will appoint a king over them whose decrees are as harsh as Haman. And then the Jewish people will repent. In so many words, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi argues with Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos about what's going to happen before Mashiach. Is Mashiach going to come in a nice way? Or is Mashiach going to come in a horrific way? They argue back and forth. At the end, it says, V'shatak Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer that thought, no, Mashiach is going to come in a nice way, everyone's going to do tshuva and so on. After they had a whole debate, brought the sources back and forth, Rabbi Yeshua Levi, he won. Why did he win? He says, they're going to be forced to do tshuva. Why are they going to be forced to do tshuva? Because Hitler's going to come. Haman's going to come. Horrible things are going to happen before the world ends, before Mashiach comes. So, people want to make Aliyah because now they're seeing this prophecy come true. The prophecy that all the other prophets, not just these Chachamim, they're just using verses from the Torah, obviously. They're seeing what Isaiah said. They're seeing what Ezekiel said. They're seeing what Zachariah said. They're seeing all this stuff, and they're scared. Why? They're seeing anti-Semitism in the streets. All of a sudden, people want to destroy your Jewish store, even though there's nothing to do for them. You sell milk. What do they have anything against milk? See, anti-Semitism for no reason. So people are scared. Maybe we make Aliyah, and that's going to protect us from the Hitler that's coming. Mistake. Why? Not a single prophet said that if you make Aliyah, that's going to protect you at the time of Mashiach. What they say is going to protect you? Torah and Gemilut Chasadim. Fulfill the Torah. Fulfill the Torah, follow all of it. Gemilut Chasadim is overwhelming kindness. Highest level of kindness is doing kiruv, helping people do tshuva. But there's a chidush. What's the chidush? There's a Rambam. A Rambam guarantee. Rambam pusek la'alacha. Rambam guarantee is not like your local Walmart guarantee. Rambam guarantee is if something was psak in this world, it's psak in Shamayim. In Rambam, Ilchot Melachim, when he talks about war, the rules of war, in Chot Melachim u'Milchamot, in chapter 7, Halakha number 15, in the second half of the Halakha, after he talks about how you're not allowed to be afraid when you go to war, then he gives you a haftacha, he gives you a guarantee. And this is the guarantee. This is the promise you have from the Torah. Anyone who fights with his entire heart, without fear, with the intention of sanctifying HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name alone, can be assured that he will find no harm, nor will bad take over him. He will be granted a proper family in Israel and gather merit for himself and his children forever. He will also merit eternal life in the world to come, as the prophet Shmuel 1, chapter 25, verse 28 to 29 states, God will certainly make my Lord a faithful house, for my Lord fights the wars of God, and evil will not be found with you. And my Lord's soul will be bound in a bond of life with God. So the Rambam writes a halakha that is one of the greatest things I've ever read in my life. He says the following: if you're going to go to war, fight, punching, hitting, tanks, Iron Dome. But not because you want to show people you're strong. Not because you're even protecting the land. Not because you're protecting nothing other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. You're going to fight for HaKadosh Baruch Hu alone. You're promised not only that nothing bad will happen to you, you're not going to die, you're not going to get hurt, but on top of that, you're going to have, your family's going to be protected, and on top of that, you're all going to Olam Haba. Now, that's fighting a physical war. Kal v'chomer, needless to say, a spiritual war, which is the highest war there is. Someone that is going to fight the wars of Hashem, publicize His name, do everything possible to get his children to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to get all of the heretics away from Am Yisrael, but not for money, not for credit, not to be known as a big wig or a big chacham or a big anything, but rather only for the sake of honoring Hashem's name alone. That's it. You go fight against the heretics. You go fight against the kofrim. You go fight against anyone that's going against Hashem the right way, the halachic way, and according to the rabbis and according to the Torah. You do it for the sake of sanctifying Hashem, and of course Hashem knows if you're doing it for Hashem's reasons or your ego. Hashem knows. Don't show up to Shemaim disappointed. He's going to already know. Tell you, no, do not enter. Why? It was all about your ego. If a person fights the wars of Hashem for the sake of sanctifying Hashem's name, he's not only guaranteed Olam Haba, he's not only guaranteed good family, he's also guaranteed full protection in this world. No one can harm him. No one. That, Rabotai, is a promise of all promises. Because when a person wants to know, what am I supposed to do with all of this anti-Semitism in the world? Now, as Rav Mizrahi says, and I agree with him, if you have extra money, you want to go buy some more property, instead of buying more property in some other country, go buy in Eretz Yisrael, no problem, go do it. If you have the ability to do that, do it. If you have the ability to make money, have Shlom Bayit, and have more Torah in Eretz Yisrael, go move over there. But don't think for a second that that by itself is going to save you. Because there is no pasuk in the Torah that says so. What do we have? We have the psukim in the Torah from every single one of the prophets, the Rambam says. Tells us, you want to be saved, you have to do tshuva. Tshuva is a prerequisite to Mashiach. Which means, Rabotai Yekarim, that the whole goal of Mashiach is to bring him by bringing Jews closer to Hashem. We want to bring Mashiach when there's enough Jews that have done tshuva. We don't want to bring Mashiach when none of us are keeping anything, because then he's not going to have anybody to save. We want to bring him as a result that there's more Jews keeping Torah and mitzvot. Why? Because if there's more people keeping Torah and mitzvot, there's more people that are actually going to live to see Mashiach. There's also more people going to Olam Haba. More people are going to sanctify Hashem's name. If people are not keeping Torah and mitzvot, they're not keeping Shabbat, they're not Shomer HaBrit, they're not doing what Hashem says, guess what? They're going to be destroyed with the rest of the enemies. So, the more people we get to do tshuva, the more we're sanctifying Hashem's name, the better we are positioned when Mashiach actually does come. Now, a person needs to know that the issue of publicizing Torah is so big that the Torah tells us that even the obligation to build the Bet HaMikdash takes a back seat to educating Torah. Meaning, if there's a mitzvah, go build the Bet HaMikdash. But then, building that Bet HaMikdash is going to get in the way of teaching young kids Torah. Says you're not allowed to build the Bet HaMikdash. Why? Teaching those kids Shema Yisrael is more important than building the Bet HaMikdash. Publicizing Torah is more important than anything else. Getting Jews to do tshuva is more important than anything else. When a person understands that, it's significant. But then there's a part that we have to connect to Rav Wasserman. You see, Rav Wasserman says, our problem at the end of the days is going to be like, we're going to want to be like Goyim. How can you do Kiruv if you act like a Goy? But there's a new insight that I had that doesn't sound so good, but it's true. You see, Rabotai, the Goyim, they do Kiruv. The Christians, if you're a religious Christian, number one mission, be a missionary. If you're a religious Christian, part of your religion, just like the Jew, Lavdil, has to keep Shabbat, the religious Christian must be a missionary. He must tell his friends, family, other Jews, anybody he meets, he must tell them about Christianity to get them to come and do his idol worship with him. If you're a Muslim, that's a religious Muslim, you must do dawah. That's their form of kiruv. You must tell anybody you meet to come worship Allah in the mosque. You must. Which means, the Goyim, they do kiruv. When a Jew doesn't do kiruv, he's not being like the Goyim. He's being worse than them. When a Jew does not care about his brothers and sisters, he's much worse than the Goyim. Because not only is he not doing the minimum requirement of showing Hashem that he's proud to be a Jew, that she's proud to be a Jew, that she's supporting Kiruv in one way or another. She's giving out CDs, she's giving donations, she's putting posters, she's arranging shiurim, she's doing something to get Jews to do tshuva. He's doing something to get Jews to do tshuva. He cares about Am Yisrael. He cares that there's problems in different keilot, so he's doing something about it. When you don't, not only do you show Hashem that you care less about His people, and you care less about Him, but on top of it, you also care less about the promise that He made us, that you're going to have protection. So when people ask, how come the religious people died during the past Holocausts? First of all, you should know, when there's a decree on the entire nation, the righteous and the wicked are sometimes judged the same. Why? The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says, when the righteous do not rebuke the wicked to get them to do tshuva, they're considered partners in the crime. And therefore Hashem punishes them, sometimes even worse. Sometimes even worse than the wicked themselves. Why? Because the righteous knew that the wicked were wicked. Whereas the wicked sometimes don't even know how wicked they really are. Because they don't learn Torah. When a Jew does not help support other Jews doing tshuva, they're being much worse than the non-Jews. Because the non-Jews at least do some type of recruitment to their idolatry. Why don't we recruit more people to our emet? Every single Jew has to take this very seriously. Not only because he doesn't want to be worse than a non-Jew, but also because it's much cheaper and less painful than making Aliyah and not being ready for it. You want to make Aliyah, you have to make Aliyah. But what kind of Aliyah? The spiritual Aliyah of making your connection to Hashem better and better every day. How can I make my connection to Hashem better and better every single day? Aside from the obvious of learning more Torah, aside from the obvious of fixing my character traits, aside from the obvious of praying better, aside from the obvious, by fulfilling the greatest mitzvah that you can in this generation, and that's Gmilut Chasadim, of helping Jews come back to Hashem before the final train leaves. When a person makes that kind of commitment of making Aliyah, that's an Aliyah that's worth making. That's an Aliyah that's guaranteed to work. That's an Aliyah that's also guaranteed to protect you, regardless if it's Mustafa or Jesus that attack you at the end. It don't make a difference. Why? Kadosh Baruch Hu wrote it. He made a promise. He made a promise. If you're doing it 100% because you want to sanctify Hashem's name, Hashem says, you're going to be in a little bubble, wherever you are. Nothing's going to touch you. Why? I made a promise. I made a promise. And by the way, if there's a problem, you can blame me. Tell him, listen, that's what I taught. Okay, that's what he taught. You have something to rely on. You have the Rambam to rely on. You have Chazal to rely on. Rabotai Karim, there's no time that Kiruv has been more important than it is right now. Making Aliyah spiritually is the most important Aliyah you're ever going to make. Because again, sometimes Aliyah works for some people physically, sometimes Aliyah doesn't work for some people. There's different reasons of why people make Aliyah. Unfortunately, many times people do it for a few years, it doesn't work out, they come back with their tail between their legs, back to America or to some other country, after wasting time and money, because the Aliyah didn't work out. But this type of Aliyah is guaranteed to work. All you got to do is commit. Commit a certain amount of time, commit a certain amount of money, commit a certain amount of effort to make sure that helping other Jews do tshuva is a serious part of your life. That is the greatest type of Aliyah a person can do. Because that type of Aliyah is guaranteed to work. How do you know? HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes promises to people that try to become teorim. Abali ta'er mesayin biyado. The Gemara says in Masechet Moed Katan, someone that looks to become purified gets a helping hand from Shamayim. When you try to help people genuinely go closer to Hashem because you want to sanctify His name even more, not because you want these people to say, oh yeah, he helped me do tshuva. Oh yeah, her, I owe her my life, she helped me do tshuva. Not for that. But because you simply want people to get closer to Hashem. Why? Because when you're not close to Hashem, your life is simply miserable. There's no purpose to life. All the horrible things in the world happen. When you simply want people to get closer to Hashem because that's the best thing in the world for them. That's the best thing in the world for what Hashem wants. That's why you're doing it. It's the only reason. Not because of money, not because of popularity, not because of likes. Not because of any other reason other than the fact that this is the best thing in the world to do. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you do it, I'm going to help you succeed. And not only am I going to help you succeed, but on top of that, I'm going to give you the reward that you sanctified my name before the Moshiach came. That means you're going to have protection. Because you made Aliyah, real Aliyah. The type of Aliyah that Hashem wants, regardless of where you are in the world. You could be in Africa, you could be in Australia, you could be in Israel, you could be in America, in England, wherever you are. I have people watching the show in Japan, people watching in Australia, people watching in Indonesia, people watching in California, in Oregon, all types of places in the world. Why? Because somebody cared enough to make Aliyah, to share the video, to send a CD, to send a Kiruv package, to send a book, to share a website, to share a text with one of our videos. The next thing you know, another Jew is watching, or another Noahide that wants to get closer to Hashem is watching. Someone is watching to get closer to Hashem. Guess what? That's Aliyah. And that Aliyah becomes a domino effect of Kedusha, and that's the only guarantee that you have, that any of us have, at the end of times. It's the only guaranteed protection. Living in a certain address, no guarantee. But this, guarantee. Be'ezrat Hashem, this will be a deal that every single person will take. Make a commitment to help Klal Yisrael do tshuva. Make a commitment to make real Aliyah every day, regardless of where you live. And don't be so worried about the Goyim, just be worried about acting like them. As long as you don't act like them, as long as you don't want to be like them, as long as you want to be a Jew, a proud Jew that makes other Jews closer to Hashem, you have nothing to worry about. And if the time comes where we know it's clearly time for us to also leave physically, guess what? I'm not going to tell you it's time to leave. I'm going to tell you I'm leaving. You want to come? Be'ezrat Hashem, this too will spread around the world with more and more Torah, and more good news will come soon. Be'ezrat Hashem. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.